So, hello everybody, it's me Anthony and welcome to Two Tails. I'm out walking my wife's doggo, as she affectionately nicknames it. If I get jerked around, it's because he's not a year old, but he's a full Doberman, red European Doberman, and he's a little powerhouse. So, real quick, if you're here looking for Intellivision Amico information, that's not what this video is. This video, if I can get to clean up my camera lens, is actually about talking briefly about what it was like to meet and who I met at the Crayola experience, because as much as I wanted to play the Amico, really wanted to meet all these people more than that, actually. And I am greatly disappointed in that I had to leave early. I didn't get to play as much, but I didn't get to meet everybody that was there. And I saw a bunch of people that I recognized and didn't get to say hello to either. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to do. And I figured it would just be easier to kind of go in order of who it is that I actually, order of how I met people there and what were my impressions and what that was like. So of course, we were asked to be there by 9, so we were, and the Crayola factory didn't open until 10. And this one's actually kind of cool, right? This was cool in a really surreal way. So we get there with my family, and this guy walks up, and he's standing there by the stairs and so forth, and he finally looks at me and goes, "Hey, are you Anthem?" And I was like, "Yeah." So this is a little shout out to John. So John's not a content creator. He's a guy who watches the channel. And I'll tell you what, it was really surreal to meet someone that watches the channel and enjoys it. And a big thank you goes to him, especially since, he didn't hesitate to chat with the kids, because real quickly my boys got pretty bored and started jumping off stairs and that sort of thing. So John was actually a really nice guy, very friendly. So, big shout out to him. But really didn't expect to meet someone that I didn't previously talk to, that watches the channel. That was really cool. So while I chatted with him, the next person that arrived was Eric from Intellivision. Now, he obviously was there to do work, and but Eric was real quick to smile, real quick to laugh, very friendly guy, very professional. He does a great. He's a credit to the company, and I actually wound up chatting with him very briefly, mostly about what was going on and getting recorded for our Amico experience and so forth. And, very, very, very cool fellow. But as far as I know, I think it was his wife. They were there with his kid. My wife got a chance to talk with her for like the entire first hour we were there. Wow. The gnats and bugs are bad out here in the yard. But anyway. And, his kid, really cute, very friendly kid. And there was one point in time, actually, that we were standing there, and his wife, I believe, if I got that. Hopefully that's the right title. I didn't talk to her myself. She's holding the baby, and the baby's leaning over and is like slapping my daughter's shirt, because my daughter has this sequined winged unicorn that's one color one way and one color the other way, and the baby figured out that it could flip them and get different colors. And of course she's like, "Is that okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's fine." And my daughter's just sitting there giggling, because my daughter loves little kids. But anyway, so they're a lovely family, and it was nice to meet them. But the next people that showed up was actually RetroBro and Cyrus Martin, the legend himself. So they pulled right up in front, because RetroBro had to unload like TV sets and stuff there, because he was there to help set up the tables, because they were doing live streams and all sorts of stuff at the event. Now, he comes around the truck as Cy is getting out of the truck, and RetroBro has got this huge smile, and he grabs my hand, he shakes my head, he's like, "It's really good to finally meet you." And let me tell you something. The video cameras do not do justice to RetroBro's arms, okay? That man does not have guns. He's got cannonballs taped to his arms. His arms are freaking huge. But he's a really, really warm guy, but he's also all business, because once it came time to start setting up, you saw the switch flip, and it was all about work at that point in time, and it was go, 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 to the extent that my wife actually looked at me and she goes, look, it's clear you want to help your friends, go help your friends. So I ran off to do that. Now, Cyrus, on the other hand, very subdued fellow, very quiet spoken from meeting him, very polite. Matter of fact, it was really, we just kind of just exchanged hellos, because like, hey, it's really good to actually meet you in person. And he just kind of nodded his head at me. But then like 2 different times, I just randomly walked up to him and I'm like, hey, Cyrus, do you know what's going on with the lines here? And Cyrus just kind of smiled at me and answered the question. He's like, I think that they don't have it all sorted out. It's just kind of real crowded and messy right now. So we chose to take the kids around the factory. But he just kind of dealt with my ambushes very patiently. So Cyrus is actually a really cool dude. But so after those two, and getting to meet those two, Retro Advisory Board showed up. Now I really, really like Retro Advisory Board. He's a really intelligent, upstanding fellow, and I tell you what, his wit and his charm, his quick one-liners, he is as sharp in person as he is on podcasts and so forth. And it was really good to actually meet him. He's a super, super chill, super cool guy. And when my kids started complaining about being bored and started kind of acting up, and I went to go and deal with them, sit down and talk with them and entertain them, he just settled in and was talking with my wife and so forth. It's very easy to talk to him. He's a really, really cool guy. I'm glad I get the chance to actually call this guy my friend. That's Retro Advisory Board is a really awesome dude. So from there, and here's the big one. This is when Tommy shows up. All right, so before I tell you about that, I'm going to tell you a story about something that Tommy said. And he was talking about his cousin, Steven Tyler, from like Aerosmith. Oh, and I can't remember the context of the story, but I remember the story. And it was something that he's tried to learn and remember. And that is that when his cousin goes in to see people after concerts and so forth, there's always this mob all vying for his attention. And he goes, hey, I know we're all excited, so how about everyone just kind of give me just a moment. And then he goes to the crowd and he goes to the people that are kind of hiding in the back of the room. And, the ones that really want to meet him but just don't have the confidence to do it. And he goes, hi, I'm Steven Tyler. Who are you? Right? And he shakes their hands and he gives them that attention up front and first. So that story is kind of important to what happened. So we're out front. The person who was supposed to be the contact at Crayola Color Factory, she wasn't there just yet. So we're all kind of waiting to get in. And I want to say it was a Dodge Charger. It could have been a Camaro, but I think it's a Dodge Charger. It was kind of red, but not quite. Pulls into the street and rev bombs the street. And of course, now my wife, who's a motorcyclist, goes, didn't say this in her words, but she's like, well, it was completely uncalled for, the cager, which if you know anything about bikers, you know what that means. But of course, I just kind of grin. I'm like, holy crap, that's Tommy. I know that's going to be Tommy. And he pulls into the parking garage. And then sure enough, here comes Tommy, bright red tennis shoes. You can't miss the guy. He's moving with a lot of energy and purpose. And he passes by Eric and, exchanges words about not getting a hold of the person that's supposed to be the contact and everything. And then he starts coming up the stairs. And he stops and he high-fives my kids and says, hey, who's ready to play Amico? Now, he then comes straight at me. Now, I'm nervous, right? Everyone who's watched the channel knows that I've become a fan of Tommy's since I've learned who he is. And I remember actually when I saw a picture of an advertisement that he did back when he had a mullet and the white button-up shirt. And I remember as a kid, I was like, man, it would be so cool to be this kid in this gaming magazine. But I was really nervous, not because I was a fan, but because I disappeared from all my social media and YouTube for 6 months and really just kind of stopped covering stuff. And I wasn't really talking to anyone either. I'm dealing with some personal issues and problems. So I didn't know how Tommy was going to react to me being there. So he greets my kids. He walks up the stairs and he looks at me real seriously for just a moment. And then he holds out his arm. And I'm like, oh, so we're doing this. And then the dude, he hugs me. So of course, I give him a hug back. And for a little guy, this guy's got a bear hug, right? And I was just kind of like, thank you, because I didn't know what else to say, number one. And that was not what I was expecting for meeting him for the first time. And it was a really wonderful experience after all this time, especially after kind of struggling through my 6 months personally. And he goes bebopping back down the stairs, and he's talking to people, and then he stops and he spins around and goes, "Hey!" And I look at him, he goes, "You didn't bring your wife?" And of course, my wife's standing about 4 feet away, talking to, Rab. And I'm like, "Oh no, she's right there. She's talking to Retro Advisory Board." And he goes, "I missed one." And he basically kind of sprints up the stairs. He gives her a big hug, and he's like, "You didn't bring your motorcycle." And she's like, "I wanted to, but it was a really long trip." Truth of the matter is, turns out my wife was feeling ill from the very get-go that day, due to we're not even really sure what was causing it. We think it's something to do with some of her medications, but he took the time to acknowledge all of us. And then I am the kind of person to kind of stand in the back of the room. Even if I have something I want to share, I try not to interrupt people that are talking, especially if they are legitimately busy. "Hey, what you doing? What you doing? What you doing?" Anyway, so I didn't get the chance to really talk to Tommy, but my experiences with him didn't end there. So after we took a tour of the Crayola factory and got back up there and were able to get to the start of the line real easily, Tommy, of course, got everyone playing right off the bat. And he was talking to 4 people when my kids all decided that they wanted to play Shark together. And Eric kind of patted him on the shoulder because I wasn't going to do it. He goes, "Hey, can you reset the system?" and so forth. And Tommy came over, not a problem. He reset it, talked with my kids for a little bit. We had this brief moment where I noticed something on the load-up screen. I've mentioned it in other videos. And he kind of gave me that sly look. And he's like, "Hey, there's a story here." And but it goes on a little bit further, because as my kids are playing, and he talks to his guy, who's actually already talked to me about my family doing a reaction and an interview after everyone got to play. He goes, hey, make sure you get this guy. He's been supporting us. He's been with us for a really long time. Make sure you talk to him. And the guy's like, "Hey, not a problem. I've already got it pinned down. I've already talked to him." And then Tommy kind of like pulls me off to the side. He's talking real quietly because he's talking to me about, the fact that my family wears masks in front of the cameras most times and that sort of thing. And he was very polite and he was very sincere, asking if I would be okay with my kids taking off their masks for their interviews. And I absolutely was. But my point there, Tommy genuinely seems to understand that not only am I a relatively private person with me and my family, but I'm also the guy that stands in the back of the room, and he treated me with great respect in regards to me personally. And seeing him work and talk with all these other people that were there, the man is a very flexible person, and he's a very sociable person. It was pardon my language, it was a hell of an experience. And I may be disappointed that I didn't get a chance to talk to everyone and do a bunch of stuff, but I wouldn't trade meeting all these people and Tommy for anything. Now, so moving on from there, let me think, who was it? Who did I meet next? Okay, so I think the person that I met next that I wanted to meet, I'm pretty sure that was Mike Mollis, okay? Now, first off, it can't be said enough. Mike Mollis is like tall. He's like my dad tall. He's like well over 6 foot. The dude's big. And so when he walks in, I recognized him. And of course, I kind of moved in his direction, and he's coming around a display stand. He's got his hands full of his stuff because he's trying to get set up. And he kind of stops for a moment. Now, I'm not wearing my mask, but he's staring at me and I'm staring back at him. And I'm doing my danged best not to grin like a freaking idiot because I'm like, this is NLG Mike Mullis. This is the man. And he slowly starts to smile, a very warm, big grin. And he goes, it's finally nice to meet you. And I'm like, it's absolutely a pleasure. I gave him a quick handshake and then he went about his business because he was there to take care of business and do a live stream and do work too. But he took the time to introduce, come over here. That is not our yard. But he took the time to introduce me to his son, Seth. I know Seth doesn't know me. I introduced, of course, my kids. Very, very quiet, very well-spoken young man, very impressive. He certainly tried to talk to my daughter and my youngest son. Of course, my youngest son, he got in the way, and he's very brazen in his attitude. He doesn't have a whole lot of finesse in his conversation. But eventually, Seth just went on and followed his dad. But it was really one of the big highlights for me. So we wound up going and doing the walk around in Crayola and doing some different crafts. I don't have them with me, but I made a Two Tails puzzle. And then I found a stencil of a cell phone, and I did it in like red and blue. And I was going to joke that it was the Amico controller, and it was the first unofficial art. But I don't have that with me. I was hoping to get like Tommy or Eric to sign it as a joke, to say it was endorsed, just for a ha-ha. Didn't happen, but it's fine. But so when we got back up there to try out the game systems, that's when I got to meet Retro Rich and his buddy Eric, okay? So I'm going to talk about Eric first because I had a very short interaction with him. And because I was like, hey, you must be Eric. He goes, yeah, that's me. Eric all the time. Eric's sense of humor doesn't change in front of or off of the camera. The guy is pretty dang funny. He's pretty friendly too. But of course, I was there to meet Rich. And it was freaking awesome. It was excited and it was big grins. And of course, I saw him from across the room. He was coming around the end of this stand near where my wife was. And I saw he had baby Henry. And I'm like shouting across this really loud room. I'm like, Mrs. Two Tails, Mrs. Two Tails, look, it's Rich. He's got the baby. He's got the baby. Because we were wondering if he was going to bring the baby or not. And of course, this led into a big thing. My wife really wanted to hold baby Henry, but didn't dare ask. And so we were talking. And of course, after the initial greetings, poor Rich, he goes, so what's really been going on with you? You know, how have you been doing? So I started telling him all the things that had been happening over just like the last couple of weeks. The look of horror on his face. I'm like, no, in the end, we're fine. We're doing okay. It's just, there's been a lot of stuff going on. It's life, you know? So we started talking about the event. And then he introduced me to his sons. I got a chance to meet Douglas. And I told Douglas, I said, your father talks about you a lot. Of course, Douglas just kind of looks at me. He's a very quiet fellow there. But, so that was a whole heck of a lot of fun. We talked about like the events and some things I didn't know. So honorable mentions. People that were there that I wanted to meet and I missed because we left early. So I missed Turbo Joe. He was someone I really, really wanted to meet in person. Turbo Joe, I like to think of him as my boy. He's freaking awesome. Whoa. Hey, that's a butterfly. You don't want to eat that. It went over that way. You missed it. Anyway, Relic Gamer was there. I missed him as well. Didn't have his number, so I wasn't able to exchange messages with him or anything along those lines. Unfortunately, that's just the way it went. Someday, maybe tomorrow, whenever. So, honorable mentions of people that were there that I recognized that I didn't expect and I didn't get to say hi to. I saw Big Chaco from level 857. I wanted to say hi to this guy because this guy cracks me up when I get a chance to watch their streams. And of course, I think at the time he was talking with Memes of Destruction and Saggy Melons. And I'm only newly familiar with them, but they seem like pretty fun people. I didn't get a chance to say hi to them either. And of course, a shout out goes to all the people that couldn't attend, you know, that I would love to meet, you know, be it OEB or the Atari Creep. There's a bunch of people actually, JT, Smash JT, but it was a heck of an experience. My family is blessed and privileged to have the friends that we do that helped us get there. And I wouldn't change it for anything. All the best. Two Tails out.